Hello there, Bic Benedict here. We're playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black on the Series X, and this is my Master Ninja Difficulty Gaiden walkthrough. We're currently on Chapter 16 of 17. It is entitled The Underworld Abyss. So, I rather liked this chapter going through it. I think the first fight is challenging, but on this version, and I don't know if this is unique to Sigma 2 or to this one, but they do. Yeah, I think they do. I remember them giving you a checkpoint. If not right before the Tengu Brothers, then somewhere before it. And I remember where it is too. So it's another chapter with Alexei, and my goal for Alexei was to spend a little bit more time learning his patterns, and I actually ended up enjoying the boss fight more than I typically have in the past. And my goal was to get through it without using any items, because if you remember back in Chapter 4, I believe I resorted to using a talisman every birth, and I just wanted to get a little bit more familiar with the boss fight, and not have to fall back on any item usage. I don't do that for every boss, but I think it's a pretty fair fight. I remember on Ninja Gaiden 2, the original one, that not being particularly fair, but they've toned him down a little bit to the point where he's not neutered or anything like that, or he's not you're not just given a free boss fight, and it's made a lot easier or anything like that. It's definitely not the case. It's still challenging, but more fair, I would say, and that's a good accomplishment for them personally. But these first few rooms are particularly awkward because, as you can see, it's a very narrow area that you're confined to, and it's very easy to get bottlenecked. I think that might be an appropriate word, but it is fair with that checkpoint. I really do think that checkpoint's good. One thing that's not particularly good is just the environment here, and the challenge about this is that the fussiness of the camera and these those stutters have pretty much ruined the walkthrough in my in my thought process when I'm thinking about these videos, because they're they seem to be capture fails in some way, but I've never experienced them before like this, ever. So it's very frustrating. Oh, and then starting in this chapter forward, actually starting in the last chapter, there are no more upgrades. So chapter 14 was the last chapter that had health upgrades and Nimpo upgrades. And one of the things that struck me when I first started to notice, the inner workings of this game, some more about the currency system and how you upgrade. I think this is the checkpoint right here. Yeah, so this is a pretty good checkpoint. There's a tough fight before the Tengus, but if you miss items in this game, you can't buy them from Miramasa like you can in Ninja Gaiden 2. So if you run past items unaware of them, that's it. So especially those Life of the Gods. I mean, you can either get all of the 18, or you miss one or two, and you won't be able to get those. And I thought that was kind of strange, because in the original version, I mean, he would sell everything from scrolls to those Life of the Gods. The only thing you couldn't buy were the rewards from the Test of Valor. And there might be other things that I'm forgetting too. But I'm going to spam the hell out of the Void over here because I don't appreciate... well, I'm thankful that there's a checkpoint over here, but I've never cared for this environment. And hopefully we could hit both of the Tengus at the same time. They seem to drop right in the middle, so if you are in the middle, be careful about that. The Scythe UT is extremely strong against them, as is the Void. And I am going to be using this... Wait, what do I use? No, I started to use the Scythe on Alexei. It was strong enough, but it was a little bit too slow. And I found that the compromise was the Endless Fang, which I used on Chapter 4 as well. So, wow, that takes a lot away, actually. Level 3 Void on these guys. Don't worry about, unless you have an issue with pride or anything. There is more than enough opportunities to get back all your Nimpo. And again, these visual stutters, they're unfixable, and it's really sad that that's the case. Because I want to blame the game, but it's possibly Elgato or Vegas Pro. I have no clue. I don't know. But don't get too excited just yet, because there is one more fight. But I don't think it's a very big one. And yeah, so let's talk about Alexei. I actually like him a little bit more than I used to, and I don't think anything's changed about this boss fight. You know how with Wolf and several others, they get maybe a different move here and there, but I don't think he gets anything new. So it's potentially the same fight from Chapter 4, given a slightly different environment. The Endless Fang is really good too. I'm trying to think. I remember it being just a big grab fest in Ninja Gaiden 2. It still can be. It can be that, but somehow it's just a little less so. And the grab damage, I think it's about equal to what it was in Ninja Gaiden 2. Because Ninja Gaiden 2, yeah, there were a lot of enemies and things, but the damage always seemed fair. Oh, it's important right here to be real careful. When you get up to the save statue, make sure that you interact with it, rather than just walk up here and assuming that there are no other enemies around here. This is a hard fight, this one here, and it's one of those things too that I was trying to do some of these fights and just not use UTs, and it's very challenging with these enemies to not use UTs and things. But that is, that's one aspect of the game. And if you're above using UTs, that's if that's your own prerogative. If you don't want to use them, that's perfectly fine. If it's some sort of issue with your pride or your ego, I can accept that. It's not a problem. People, just play however you want to play, and because I would hate to have someone say, "Well, you should play it this way," or what have you. Because then you're it's fine to make suggestions. I love doing double and triple wind paths off enemies. It's really fun. But yeah, I remember this fight being pretty challenging, and my goal on Alexei was just to not use any items. I think the move that I did right there is XX forward. I'm probably going to forget. I don't remember what it is, but when I rewatch the video, I will put it in the commentary notations what that move is and how to do it. What I think it is, well, I don't want to guess. There's way too many moves. So yeah, less of a grab festival with Alexei. About equal damage, I would say, from grabs from the original game. And you know why this issue of, well, you don't want to use any items on him? Well, it's because I always end up using a Talisman of Rebirth, and I wanted to get a little bit better at him, and I think I got a good fight. A couple of times, the fight just ended real fast because he did like to grab a lot, and he does this move where I'm not sure what it is, but it's a move where he throws out projectiles that you can outright block. I didn't realize you can just outright block it. But the thing is, it seems to slightly stagger you, or it's just that I wasn't able to evade quickly enough to avoid him transitioning from throwing those projectiles to grabbing, because he doesn't always throw the projectiles and then grab you, but he can, and I got grabbed a fair amount of times to that. But this is a great opportunity to get back some of your Nimpo. And on the sacks coming up, I think there's only like 4 fights as well. Whereas every sack on Ninja Gaiden 2 would have enemies. So, yeah, I'm happy. I actually turned out to be quite pleased with the Alexei boss fight, because I've never liked him, but maybe it was the way that the weapon was really working well with what I was trying to do, the Edmus Fang. What you can do on these sacks, if you want to, and it's kind of risky, is to jump and press X a couple times, and then I think if you do it 2 or 3 times, you'll take care of it in the air, and then you can get an on-landing charge. However, you're not guaranteed to not take damage, but it can facilitate it. Oh, another thing too that you can probably do is, I know it's not about probably but you could do a 360 Lunar UT just outright on it, and that animation will destroy the sack and kill the enemies. So there's so few confrontations out of these sacks that I quickly started to remember just exactly which sack had enemies in it, because it's really no surprise after a couple of resets what it is. That was kind of funny how I threw him down there, and then he didn't join me down here. So I think this first sack has enemies. Yeah, I missed my on-landing charge right there. So I went from the only other thing I tested on Alexei was the scythe. I used the True Dragon Sword a little bit, but it's better, I think, to have a weapon that has reach, and you really need to stay close to Alexei, because that way you minimize your chance of getting grabbed. He has at least like 2 just outright animations that are grabs, and I do really appreciate the fact that when he does his spin attack, that it's slowed down to a speed that is measurable to react with the human eye. I didn't appreciate it in the original version. It just was too crazy. and then when he got his buff at the end, which pretty much means he I think he gets more iframes, he hits harder, and I think you hit him a little bit less. I think that's the general idea of his buff at the end. But I think he had 2 dashes in the original game, and I don't think he has that here. So this is the last enemy over here as well. But I was happy with this fight that's coming up. Let's see what else. Yeah, I'll point out the projectiles that you can block, because in the chapter 4 video, I didn't realize that they were blockable. If you want to dash jump out of the way, that's viable too, and you're probably a little less likely to get grabbed. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say sometimes, because sometimes it seems like, oh, that room up there has several items. I couldn't hold anything, but here's the endless thing. Now, when he jumps down and hits the ground and electrifies the ground, I didn't find it possible. It's not guaranteed though, but it didn't seem like you could just use the reverse wind to get iframes through his AoE when he pounds the ground. So what I do is I dash jump out of the way. Now it might very well be possible to do that, but all I use are X attacks on him because they're faster. He seems to grab a little bit less. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But yeah, that's the one you need to dash jump out of the way of. And that's a grab, what that is. Some of these attacks, they're guard crushing moves that will grab you. And then as we saw at the end of the chapter 4 video, as he's going into the lightning phase, you can charge your Endless Fang and get a UT, and you'll probably deal him some pretty good damage. So if you need an auxiliary commentary and strategy, video against him, you can compare the chapter 4 video, because these fights, they go pretty quickly, and that's how the guide has gone, in point of fact, because I've enjoyed it. And when you enjoy something, things can go quickly sometimes. But that's been it. I will see you in the final video. And until then, please take care.